23rd, 2023 City Council meeting. If you'd please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everyone. You'll notice a slight change tonight. The mayor is not here, so John Coyne, as council president, becomes the acting mayor, and then I become the council president for this evening's meeting. So we're glad to have you here. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Rose.
Here.
Shields.
Here.
Simpson.
Here.
Coyne. Hare.
Here.
Hazeltine. Lamb.
Here.
Reading of the minutes.
Mr. President,
Mr. Simpson?
I move to approve the minutes of, I got to see what the date was on that.
October 10th.
October 10th meeting is submitted by our council clerk.
Second.
Any further discussion? Would the clerk please call the roll on the reading of the minutes?
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Hare.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Reports of standing committees. The Finance Committee met immediately prior to tonight's council meeting. Our next Finance Committee meeting will be November 13th, 2023, prior to the next City Council meeting. Public Properties, there is no report this evening and no meeting scheduled. Health, Safety, and Sanitation, Mr. Simpson.
Thank you, Mr. President. No report and no meeting scheduled.
Thank you. Streets and Sidewalks, Ms. Hare.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have nothing to report and no meeting scheduled.
Thank you. Special Legislation, Mr. Lamb.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report and no meeting scheduled.
And Emerging Technologies, Mr. Rose.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Emerging Technologies Advisory Committee will have a meeting here in City Hall on November 2nd at 5 p.m.
Thank you, Mr. Rose. Request for council action for the Finance Committee, 23206, budget amendments, 23207, grant application Bulletproof Vest Partnership for the Police, 23208, expenditure, plan year 2022, CHIP rehab, 1137 Oakley Drive, Brunswick, 23209, expenditure for plan year 2022 for CHIP rehab, 1244 Haddock Road in Brunswick, 23210, amend ordinance 134-23, which CHIP rehab, 1495 McKinley. 23211, amend code 16113, which is the income tax allocation. 23212, amend code chapter 162, income tax related to House Bill 33. 23213, increase expenditure and PO 2023-1499 for CHIP rehab at 30 Circle Drive. 23214, amend ordinance 50-22 pavilion rental fees for the Parks Department, and 22215, management agreement for the City of Medina Airport. Reports of municipal officers. Acting Mayor, Mr. Coyne.
Thank you, Mr. Shields. First, as always, I'd like to congratulate council on the great job that they do. I don't think you get enough recognition for your work, so I congratulate you all on that. Second, I have one thing on the agenda I'll talk about when we get there regarding Medical Mutual. I also just want to remind everyone, Halloween's coming up, October 31st. Trick or treat will be from 6 to 8 in the city. So be safe out there when you're going door to door. Again, the police chief will probably discuss, there'll be officers out on the street, the fire department will be out, driving the streets, making sure everybody continues to be safe. But remember, trick or treat is on Tuesday the 31st from 6 to 8. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Coyne. Finance Director, Mr. Keith Durham.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have nothing this evening.
Thank you. Law Director, Mr. Greg Huber.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report.
Thank you. Chief of Police, Ed Kinney.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report.
Thank you. Service Director, Mr. Piccoli.
Thank you, Mr. President. Two brief comments. The long-awaited leaf program has officially begun, so with this nicer weather, people are out raking their leaves. We just ask and remind folks to rake the leaves to the curb, not into the street. They don't have to call in or look at the map. We don't have a map anymore. We will be out there to pick up the leaves until the weather turns to the point where we cannot. The other thing is yearly annual auction is this Saturday up and coming on the 28th. It'll be at the City Garage, 7081 West Smith Road. Preview will be at 9 a.m. The actual auction begins at 10. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pacoli. Mr. Worley, Parks and Recreation.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a couple updates on some service projects that were recently performed. On October 12th, First Energy hosted a tree planting event at the Q and Todd Conservation Area. They had over 15 volunteers from their company, all the way, the furthest was from Toledo. They donated their time and materials to plant 150 trees, tree seedlings at the park, so we appreciate their time and their contribution to our community. This is the second time that they've done tree planting at that location in the last 2 years. Secondly, this past Saturday, October 21st, volunteers planted over 600 daffodil bulbs at Spring Grove Cemetery. The volunteers included the Friends of the Cemetery, Medina High School Student Council members, Key Club, National Honor Society members. In total, there were 30 students that devoted their time. And a special thanks to the Friends of the Cemetery and Gene Pritchard, who worked with the high school advisors to make this event happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Worley. Mr. Patton, City Engineer.
Thank you, Mr. President. As a reminder, the West Smith project construction will restart next Monday, October 30th. We'll be installing underground utilities between South Elmwood and South Court Street. And also wanted to note, today we received confirmation that the charging stations for the City Hall parking deck have been shipped, so they're on their way here.
Thank you, Mr. Patton. And finally, Mr. Andrew Dutton, Planning and Community Development Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. A couple of items, as council's aware, we're undergoing a multi-use plan process, getting near the draft stage of the plan. We'll be holding a public meeting November 8th at 6 p.m. here at City Hall for the public to attend and provide input. Second item, we've also received an application from Acme for a new grocery store at the northwest corner of Worcester Pike and High Point Drive. That'll be going to the Planning Commission at their next meeting. It's in something called a special planning district. There's some proposed changes to that text, so that'll actually also be coming to council later this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dutton. Notices, communications, and petitions. We have one, a liquor permit not to object to the issuance of a new D2 permit to IBC Bars LLC, doing business as Little Fox Cafe and Bakery at 540 Blake Avenue.
Move not to object.
Second?
Any discussion? Would the clerk please call the roll?
Simpson.
Yes.
Hare.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Unfinished business, we have none this evening. Introduction of visitors. Members of the public will be permitted the opportunity to speak on any issue or concern which pertains to the city during the portion of the council agenda devoted to introduction of visitors. All comments shall be directed to the chair, and a reasonable time limit of approximately 5 minutes will be imposed. If there is a group, please appoint a spokesperson. Speakers should approach the microphone at the back at the podium and state their name and address that can be entered into the minutes. Members of the public will be afforded the opportunity to comment on any other portions of the meeting as determined by the chair or by a vote of the majority of council members present. I know we have Mr. Tittington from the Adam Board this evening to speak to us on issue 15. If you'd like to go first, and then anybody else who would like to speak this evening will.
be on the ballot. It is issue 15. The Human Services Levy is a renewal. My name and address is 246 Northland Drive, and this is on. Oh.
Yeah.
You want me to start over? Are we good?
If you want to introduce yourself again, sorry about that.
That's okay. My name is Philip Titterington. I'm the Executive Director for the Medina County Alcohol, Drug Addiction, and Mental Health Board. The address there is 246 Northland Drive. Thank you for allowing me to present today. On November 7th, there's a Human Services Levy that will be on the ballot. It is a renewal. It is not a tax increase. This is the Human Services Levy. The Human Services Levy was first passed by the voters in 2019, and this year it's a straight renewal. Voting for issue 15 will not increase your taxes. The levy costs about $25, God bless you, per year per 100,000 of appraised property value. That's about $2 a month. Every year, thousands of our residents, including children, seniors, and those battling substance use disorders, rely on help from Jobs and Family Services, the Office for Older Adults, and the Adam Board. We've all seen how substance use disorders and mental health issues can impact anyone and any family. Human Service Levy funds are split between the three agencies, Jobs and Family Services, the Adam Board, and Office for Older Adults. These agencies work very well together. They tackle many interconnected issues and offer real help for real needs. We're so close that two of us share the same building, and one is right across the same parking lot. The pandemic made already growing needs worse, but we were ready. In 2019, we understood that our population was aging, more people were dealing with substance use disorders and mental health issues, and the number of kids in need of family services had been rising. And then the pandemic hit. We were fortunate that voters supported us, and we were ready. We saw spikes in service needs due to the pandemic across all three agencies. More in need of mental health support, more in need of substance use treatment, more people going through recovery, more children in our care due to abuse and neglect. Most of these human services needs are still at or near all-time highs. Those years should remind us of the mutual responsibility to care for our most vulnerable residents. Issue 15 keeps us efficient, effective, and impactful. Renewing the Human Services Levy does not increase taxes. It protects senior meal programs, helps fund senior protective services, as well as the Scam Squad hotline and numerous other senior programs. It retains the caseworkers needed for our growing child protective needs, funds numerous substance use disorder and mental health programs and recovery centers, including programs to help children and teenagers cope with their unique mental health needs. Unfortunately, if the levy is not renewed, we will face annual cuts to these agencies totaling over $5 million per year. Ultimately, it means telling those seeking treatment and recovery for substance use disorders we don't have the resources. It means ignoring the mental health challenges we see at every age level and in every community. And in broader terms, it means pulling back from and abdicating our responsibility to care for our vulnerable friends, neighbors, and families. Human Services Levy, once again, is a renewal. It helps fund three very important behavioral health agencies: Jobs and Family Services, helps serving kids, Office for Older Adults, and the Adam Board. That's issue 15. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Titterington, for speaking this evening.
Thank you for having me.
I know you asked, you had some handouts you wanted to leave. If you want to leave those with the clerk there, she'll take those and distribute them here at City Hall.
Good evening. Kay Alexander, 966 Beechwood Drive. Last month, on September 19th, my husband Jack and I had the opportunity to visit the Valor Court graduation held for the first 5 graduates at the Medina Municipal Court building. Valor Court is a specialized docket that is dedicated to defendants with military experience who find themselves in the criminal justice system. This court was established when it was recognized that many of our veterans return to civilian life with serious physical or mental trauma, which can lead to their involvement with the criminal justice system. Valor Court provides an evidence-based alternative to traditional sentencing methods. What we witnessed on graduation day in September was quite incredible, as it became evident of the dedication of the court and Judge Gary Werner, the individuals who volunteered to be mentors for the participants, and all the defendants themselves who successfully followed through with all obligations, requirements, and phases of the program through a year-long endeavor. On graduation day, the participant's case was closed. Having witnessed the Valor Court proceedings, we were impressed, amazed, and proud that the City of Medina and Medina County supports this incredible opportunity to provide an alternative means for veterans who find themselves in the criminal justice system. We are grateful to Judge Werner for his positive and interactive communication with the veterans, as well as the treatment team and the many fellow veterans and volunteers who served as mentors to the participants. The mentors provide hours and hours of support and guidance to enable the defendants to successfully complete the program. Again, it brings pride that the City of Medina has the dedicated and caring individuals to support this unique program for veterans with an alternative avenue for rehabilitation to deter relapse and restore participants to functional decision-making and relationships. Thank you to the citizens of Medina who have made this program possible.
Thank you, ma'am, for speaking of the court tonight. Mrs. Barnes?
Good evening. My name is Amy Barnes. I live at 314 East Washington Street, Medina. On the night of October 13th, the anti-bow hunting signs in my yard and at 6 other locations were viciously vandalized. The pro-bow hunting sign across the street from my house was untouched. On the downside, this was the action of small-minded anti-American cowards who broke the law to try to squelch freedom of speech. On the upside, these same cowards are very obviously admitting that the Vote No to the Bow efforts are succeeding. We appreciate the encouragement because every time one of the signs is attacked, it shows we are gaining ground and these cowards fear the Vote No to the Bow idea. What is truly dismaying, though, is that the water has been so muddied that many voters have become unknowingly confused as to exactly what is being voted on. The issue being voted on is not whether to or whether not to abate the deer population. Yet, on the City of Medina website is this post at the top of each page. Medina City voters will vote in the November 7th, 2023 general election on proposed ordinance number 162-22 regarding the deer nuisance abatement initiative. A yes vote will permit nuisance abatement of deer population in the city, and a no vote will not permit the city to abate the deer population. Now, I don't know about you folks, but my mama, she taught me to tell the truth, the whole truth. I also learned in school that the government is supposed to present information without a bias toward one side or the other. And please do not even attempt to tell me that people can look up the ordinance number. It is very unlikely that anyone will. They trust that an accurate synopsis of the issue was posted, as has been proven through what has been said on various social media sites. However, this statement on the city's website is inaccurate and misleading. I would really hate to think that was done on purpose. I am sure it was an unthinking accident, a lack of proofreading perhaps. Because as you well know, a no vote will not keep the city from abating the deer population as is stated. A no vote will only cause the issue to be sent back to City Council to be reworked into, one hopes, a safer solution than hunting with crossbow and longbow within densely populated areas and around schools. Having this statement on the city's website has only served to muddy the issue and cause neighbor to turn against neighbor. Congratulations. I am here tonight to request a thoughtful rewrite of what is posted on the city's website to bring clarity to the churning debate. That a no vote will send it back to City Council for a reworking of the abatement plan and will not end deer abatement. No one disagrees that deer abatement is needed. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to speak? Sir?
Good evening, everyone. Bill Kuhar, 875 Gayer Drive. I've spoken about the deer hunting ordinance, issue 17, in the past. I don't want to talk about bow hunting tonight. I want to talk about one of the items that's been expressed on social media, that Medina deserves a comprehensive deer management program. So to that, I interpret that to mean that all lethal and non-lethal means need to be investigated. So I'll speak to non-lethal means. In 1972 and 1973, the Ohio Department of Natural Resources conducted a deer contraceptive study at the NASA Plum Brook Research Facility in Sandusky. In 1974 and 1975, deer were harvested, and the results of pregnant deer, non-pregnant deer, etc., were examined. It was found to be marginally effective, but not effective enough to affect the deer population, and the study was discontinued. As recent as 2011, our own Cleveland Metro Parks has spent up to $500,000 studying deer contraceptive, non-lethal means. The first prerequisite to a non-lethal contraceptive management plan that is successful, and this could be demonstrated by Fire Island, New York, which is a barrier island, is a geographic isolation of the deer herd. We do not have geographic isolation of the deer herd. Furthermore, 85 to 90% of the does have to be treated with contraceptives. The most common one being used today is PZP. It has to be reapplied about every 2 years at a cost of about $1,000 a deer. It's done by hydroponic dart. At $1,000 a deer, if we're 500 deer, 400 does, do the math. That's $400,000 of initial treatment if you could get them all. And then you got to do it in 2 more years. And it takes maybe 5 years for it to become effective. Do the math. I mean, we're talking millions of dollars, and the state does not allow contraception as a deer management tool. They won't fund it. They won't offer grants for it. So how's it funded? Or research study. Well, they've got one in South Euclid. They're not granting anymore. So how could it be funded? We'd have to get approval and then fund it privately. Where are you going to come up with $1 million? Where's it going to come from? You're going to need another levy? This has not been made aware to our voters. Our special legislation committee was tasked last year with investigating non-lethal means, and they've presented nothing. It took 5 months to schedule a meeting on the deer feeding ordinance. They presented nothing. They had 6 years to come up with a comprehensive deer management plan and gave us nothing. City Council acted in the only means possible by passing the deer bow hunting ordinance. That is the first step. I'm sorry, this is just ridiculous that this is coming to a ballot initiative. This is very much like Nancy Pelosi describing Obamacare. You have to pass it to see what's in it. This is not what our voters deserve. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ma'am?
Hi, my name is Loretta Krieger. I own property at 55 Circle Drive, Medina, and I'm very concerned that issue 17 has been misrepresented by their supporters of the ordinance to deer abatement in the city of Medina. I want to make it clear. If issue 17 passes, neighborhood bow hunting in the city of Medina will begin in our neighborhoods. If issue 17 fails, the city will go back to the drawing board and figure out other means to lower the population. There were plenty of ideas that were shared during council meetings and ward meetings last year. Council decided to ignore the standing room only crowds that showed up to a bunch of the meetings when they passed the deer ordinance. We had less than a month to get over 1,700 signatures to get issue 17 on the ballot. so the people in the city of Medina could actually vote on this issue. The only way we can stop unsafe neighborhood bow hunting is to vote no on issue 17. Has anyone ever seen what crossbows can do? I have. It scares the crap out of me. My brothers used bows and crossbows and guns to hunt safely out in the country where there's acres and acres of land. I talked to my brother the other day about crossbow hunting inside the city of Medina, and he thought I was kidding about it. He started laughing when I told him that this is not a joke. This is what happened. This is true. He nearly choked and dropped his phone. He asked me, "Are they insane?" He said, "The population of the city of Medina is too dense. The properties are too small for bow hunting to be safe in the city of Medina, particularly crossbow hunting." He said, "You'd have to have our larger acreage to be able to hunt deer safely, and we don't have that in the city." I've had friends that bow and crossbow hunt, quite a few of them actually. I posted some things on my site on Facebook, and they wrote back to me and said they agree that no way would it be safe to have hunting with bows and crossbows in the city of Medina. They agree that the smaller acreage that we have in the city, more accidents are more likely to happen. The misrepresentation by the supporters of the deer ordinance have been telling people that if you vote no on the deer abatement, it will not be allowed at all. This is totally false. This even happened at the last council meeting, October 10th. I personally asked President of City Council John Coyne to explain to that gentleman that is in favor of the deer abatement of the bow of issue 17 passing. And I asked him if he could explain what would happen to the vote when a vote does get counted. He did, and as I stated, if issue 17 passes, neighborhood bow hunting in the city of Medina will begin in our neighborhoods. If issue 17 gets turned down, the city council will have to go back to the drawing board and figure out other means to lower the population of the deer. City council would not listen to dozens of people last year attending several meetings here and also the ward meetings. There were many suggestions to change the ordinance to make the ordinance safer for people in the Medina and the traveling public. They would not add one safety idea. They would not answer any questions as the reasons why they would not pass why they would pass such an unsafe ordinance when they supposedly modeled the ordinance after the city of North Royalton's deer ordinance. Their ordinance has many pages of safety regulations to protect their citizens and the traveling public in the city. One rule, North Royalton, 618.12-C, hunting prohibited in the areas of not less than 5 contiguous acres by a qualified archer on such forms and subject to such rules and regulations as chief may prescribe. Can anyone please tell me where we might have lots of 5-acre lots in the city of Medina? Any in our neighborhoods? Other rules, 618.125, rules and regulations, issuance of the permit in North Royalton. Section B3, prior to the issuance of a permit, the applicant shall personally notify or notify by ordinary mail the occupants of the properties that share a common boundary with any portion of the shooting property that an application for permits has been received unless the city of police determines that such notification is unnecessary or impractical. Another, section B, 4, permit holder shall post caution archery hunting signs if deemed necessary by the chief of police. These are just a couple rules that North Royalton has. And many people asked for similar rules and other rules to be added, and they were like not even heard. They could have adopted any of the rules that North Royalton had, but they did not. Vote no on issue 17 to stop the insanity and unsafe neighborhood bow hunting for deer. Voting no will make City Council go back to the drawing board and come up with other means to lower the population of the herds of the deer in the city of Medina. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mrs. Krieger. Is there anybody else who would like to speak who have not had a chance to speak yet? All right, and I see we have one person who wants to speak again. Is that what?
I wanted to have Bill Kuhar again, 875 Gayer Drive. I would like to clarify something to the lady who was just up here speaking. In North Royalton, the 5 contiguous acres is accomplished by homeowner A contacting homeowner B, C, D, E, et cetera, their neighbors, and requesting permission to conjoin their property to meet that 5-acre requirement. So even though any one particular lot does not have 5 acres, if you have adjoining lots that accumulate to 5 acres, then bow hunting can be accomplished per the North Royalton ordinance. 14 pages isn't necessary. 2 pages is adequate in my mind. Common sense application of the ordinance is what's necessary. And I leave that to our chief of police to determine what is safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kuhar. Is there anybody else who would like to address council this evening? We've got to get it on the record, though, so if you, I'm sorry, if you would, just so everybody can hear it at home, too, then. No, I'm not, this will be it. Nothing says you can't speak twice, so.
I just wanted to put it on record that we'll have to just agree to disagree on this part, because I will never, no one will ever be able to tell me that crossbow hunting would be safe in our city. Population's too dense. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. At this point, then, we'll move on to introduction and considerance of the ordinances and resolutions. I'll entertain a motion to suspend the rules requiring 3 readings of the following ordinances and resolutions. Ordinance 166-23, Ordinance 167-23, Ordinance 168-23, Resolution 169-23, Ordinance 170-23, Ordinance 171-23, Ordinance 172-23, Ordinance 173-23, Ordinance 174-23, Ordinance 175-23, and finally, Ordinance 176-23.
Mr. President, I move to approve the ordinances and resolutions to,
Or make a motion to suspend the rules requiring 3 readings.
correct. Thank you.
Do I have a second?
Okay, I'll second that one.
Any further discussion? Would the clerk please call the roll? Call the
Hare.
roll.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Ordinance 166-23, an ordinance amending ordinance number 132-23 passed September 11, 2023, relative to the expenditure to Green Home Solutions for rehabilitation work at 13 Plymouth Street.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion.
Mr. President,
Mr. Simpson?
the emergency clause has been requested. I move to add it at this time.
My second includes the emergency clause.
Thank you. Discussion on the ordinance or the emergency clause. Mr. Dutton?
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, this is a CHIP project at 13 Plymouth Street. The original PO was for $55,470 for a variety of exterior and interior work at the site. During the process, an additional $3,500 was necessary for additional sheathing, bringing the PO up to $58,970. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dutton. Any other discussion on the ordinance or the emergency clause? Would the clerk please call the roll on the emergency clause?
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Hare.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
And would the clerk please call the roll on the ordinance?
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Hare.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Ordinance 166-23 passes 5-0.
Thank you. Ordinance 167-23, an ordinance amending section 945.02G of the codified ordinances of the city of Medina, Ohio, relative to park restrictions.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Mr. Worley?
Thank you, Mr. President. We're amending this ordinance to reflect the closing of Memorial Dog Park and the opening of Ray Mellert Dog Park. This change will allow dogs off-leash inside the dog park at Ray Mallard Park. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? If none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Hare.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Ordinance 167-23 passes 5-0.
Ordinance 168-23, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a memorandum of understanding with the Medina County Board of Commissioners pertaining to the Granger Road water line.
Move to approve.
Second?
Discussion? Mr. Patton?
Thank you, Mr. President. Our water master plan has long included the recommendation to transfer our water service customers on Granger Road to the Medina County system, and that's for several reasons. We had planned on completing this work in 2024. However, due to a water line break recently that was under the Rocky River, these transfers had to occur immediately. This MOU between the city and the county authorizes this transfer and outlines the necessary improvement costs to accomplish same. Those costs, I would point out, are to be shared 50-50 between the city and the county.
Thank you, Mr. Patton. Is there any other further discussion on ordinance 168-23? Seeing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Simpson.
Yes.
Hare.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Ordinance 168-23 passes 5-0.
Resolution 169-23, a resolution authorizing the filing of a grant application to the Office of Criminal Justice Services, State of Ohio, for the 2024 body-worn camera grant program for the police department.
Move to approve.
Second?
Discussion.
Mr. President,
Mr. Simpson?
the emergency clause has been requested. I move to add it at this time.
My second includes the emergency clause?
Discussion on the emergency clause of the ordinance. Chief Kinney?
Thank you, Mr. President. This resolution is authorizing the police department to apply for the 2024 body-worn camera grant as well as acceptance if awarded. The amount is $87,182. The emergency clause has been requested because the grant deadline has passed.
Thank you, Chief. Any further discussion? Would the clerk please call the roll on the emergency clause?
Hare.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Any further discussion on the resolution? Would the clerk please call the roll on the resolution?
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Hare.
Yes.
Resolution 169-23 passes 5-0.
Thank you. Ordinance 170-23. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to advertise for competitive bids and to award a contract to the successful bidder for the Spring Grove Cemetery Section 19 and 20 Road Improvements Project.
Move to approve.
Second?
Discussion? Mr. Worley?
Thank you, Mr. President. This project will construct a new asphalt driveway between section 19 and 20 at Spring Grove Cemetery. Completion of the project will provide access to sections 19 and 20, which will allow us to sell additional plots in that area. This roadway was identified on our master plan, and the engineer's estimate for the project is $60,000.
Thank you, Mr. Worley. Any further discussion on the ordinance? Would the clerk please call the roll?
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Hare.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Ordinance 170-23 passes 5-0.
Ordinance 171-23, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to solicit requests for proposals, RFPs, for non-emergent patient transport from nursing homes.
Move to approve.
Second?
Discussion?
Mr. President,
Mr. Simpson?
the emergency clause has been requested. I move to add it at this time.
My second includes the emergency clause?
Discussion on the emergency clause and the ordinance. Mr. Simpson?
Thank you, Mr. President. This request has been submitted by the mayor, but it also includes participation from the Medina Hospital Cleveland Clinic, Medina Township, and Montville Township. We have a advisory board meeting that meets quarterly, and we've been discussing a problem that has arose for the last several years regarding the life support team. As Mr. Toth, when he's here, he has shared the amount of calls that happen each month in the city and the townships. They've increased steadily over the last several years, reaching well over 5,000, probably getting closer to 6,000 calls a year. The problem lies is with the skilled nursing facilities that we have in the city and the townships. There's so many times that the staff at those facilities call 911 because that's the only option of getting somebody transported to the hospital. And quite often, these are not emergency situations. They're non-life-threatening situations that could be handled by a private ambulance service. Unfortunately, in the last few years, the few private ambulance services in the Medina County have went out of business. So the mayor's, with the approval of the trustees in the hospital, has put in this request to advertise for private ambulance companies outside of Medina County that would be willing to come in and handle non-emergency calls to these skilled nursing facilities, nursing homes. This in no way, shape, or forms would prevent the life support team from responding to 911 calls where they're life-threatening, could be in need of cardiac monitoring, pharmacology care. This is just for times that the life support team is called by 911 for just basic transport. Somebody, has gotten blood work back from the doctor's office, and the doctor's requested they be transported to the hospital, and right now there's no other means, so they dial 911. And as busy as the life support team's getting now, there's times that when they're doing these non-life-threatening transports, other life-threatening calls or happen to be called mutual aid or other departments to come in and handle those calls. So again, this is just putting a request out to transport services outside of Medina County. The stats that has been provided by the life support team in Medina Hospital Cleveland Clinic shows that it could be profitable for non-private services to handle these calls and hopefully come into Medina County, so.
Thank you, Mr. Simpson. Is there any further discussion? Would the clerk please call the roll on the emergency clause?
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Hare.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Any further discussion on the ordinance? Would the clerk please call the roll on the ordinance?
Simpson.
Yes.
Hare.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Ordinance 171-23 passes 5-0.
Our next ordinance, 17223, at this point, we're going to table this and bring it back at our next Finance Committee meeting. We still want to have a little further discussion on how we balance these accounts, the water accounts, versus helping the Finance Department clear them off their books. So we'll have more discussion at the next Finance meeting, and it will come back after a little bit more refinement. So we're going to table 172-23 tonight. Next ordinance, 173-23, an ordinance repealing ordinance number 123-23 passed September 11, 2023, relative to bid for job number 1154, Reagan Park Skate Park Rehabilitation.
Move to approve.
Second?
Discussion. Mr. Worley?
Thank you, Mr. President. This ordinance repeals ordinance 123-23 that authorized replacing the concrete, the skate park at Reagan Park. We recently performed concrete grinding in lieu of pouring new concrete, and it ended up with great results. So we're requesting to repeal ordinance 123-23, which resulted in a substantial cost savings.
Thank you, Mr. Worley, and thank you for looking at other options here to save the city money on this project. Is there any further discussion on the ordinance? Would the clerk please call the roll?
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Hare.
Yes.
Ordinance 173-23 passes 5-0.
Ordinance 174-23, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with Medical Mutual of Ohio for health care insurance for the employees of the city of Medina for the calendar years 2024 and calendar year 2025.
Move to approve.
Second?
Discussion. Acting Mayor Coyne?
Thank you, Mr. President. Every year we go out, the city of Medina goes out and bids out its healthcare coverage with requests for proposal to make a determination what's the best healthcare coverage that we can provide to our employees and also at the most cost-effective manner. This time, Medical Mutual of Ohio came back with a proposal that I think, though it does not decrease the annual premium rate for the year, it does provide a 2-year option, which we usually don't get a 2-year option, we only get a 1-year option. And Medical Mutual of Ohio's proposal for the city of Medina would provide a $3,000 wellness dollars to fund the employee assistance program, and this will be used for monies for equipment in the workout room. The other providers didn't offer that. And it would also provide us with a one-time grant of $4,500 for 2024 to provide additional workout room equipment, to upgrade the equipment. Now, we do this for Healthy Medina, as you know. We provide the equipment to the employees so they can work out, so, you know, they're healthier, they don't have to go to the hospital as much. That's the hope and the goal. It also provides that we'd able to try to get a rebate of 1% to 5% in 2024 after reviewing all the claims in 2023. So if our claims history is lower, you know, we're able to hopefully get another additional rebate in our premium cost. Other companies, you know, they never offer this 2-year program. They only offer a 1-year program. So the stability of a 2-year program aids the city so we know where we're going. And the 2-year program provides that there will be a 2% increase in the first year of our premium and then a 0% increase in the second year. Just to put that in context, our premiums for the city of Medina run about $3 million. So the 2% is relatively low. When we do our budgeting, if you remember, Council, we budget usually about a 12% increase in our premiums per year, which is going to be about over a $300,000 increase in premium year to year based upon the $3 million premium. That is not going to happen. It's very advantageous to the city to have a 2% increase and a 0% increase over a 2-year period. You know, and hopefully we can get a rebate and lower that over, you know, in 2024. Right now, the city currently has about a 70% premium to claim ratio, which is excellent. So, you know, our claims history is lower than the premiums we're paying. That's why we're able to, you know, manage with Medical Mutual of Ohio to get this lower rate. And there's going to be no increase in our dental coverage and no increase in our vision coverage. So this plan for over a 2-year period will aid the city in saving money in the longer term over increases that compound in our premiums from year to year. I hope that was clear.
It was. Thank you, Mr. Coyne. Any further discussion on ordinance 174-23? Seeing none, would the clerk please? Oh,
I was just going to say, and the employees benefit from it too, in that their increases for their monthly premiums don't go up as much. They follow in line with what we're getting as a city. Correct, Mr. Coyne?
Correct. And also, in addition to that, they don't have to change plans. You know, they can keep their same insurance cards. They don't have to get all new insurance cards. You don't have to change everything throughout the city, which is very difficult for the employees because they have to change, you know, all their plans with their family and go with a new provider. This way, we stay with Medical Mutual of Ohio. We don't have to do that.
And I do want to thank our employees also for their participation in Healthy Medina. That was one of the things that Medical Mutual pointed out, that we have great participation, and it certainly seems to be reflective in our claims being lower this year. Okay. Seeing no further discussion, could the clerk please call the roll on ordinance 174-23?
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Hare.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Ordinance 174-23 passes 5-0.
Ordinance 175-23, an ordinance amending Chapter 541 of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Medina, Ohio by the addition of a new section, 541.11, relative to prohibiting camping upon public property.
Move to approve.
Second?
Discussion. Chief Kinney?
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a new ordinance we'd like to add to our codified ordinances. As stated, it prohibits camping upon public property. Public property in this ordinance is defined as property owned by the city, including without limitation, streets, sidewalks, easements, parks, parking lots, public grounds, or right-of-ways. The definition of camping per this ordinance means setting up, remaining in, or at property for the purpose of sleeping, making preparation to sleep, storing personal property, and or performing cooking activities for habitation purposes. This section does not apply to individuals who meet these 3 conditions. Individuals who have no alternative lodging available to them and are otherwise homeless and have insufficient resources to secure alternative lodging and are unable to secure free services such as shelters within a reasonable proximity to the city, or hotels, motel vouchers, which have been made available to them. So this ordinance is not to target people who are truly struggling with homelessness. It's for those individuals who refuse any help and insist on camping on public properties and in our right-of-ways.
Thank you, Chief. Any further discussion of the ordinance?
Mr. President.
Mr. Simpson?
I'd just like to comment over the last month or so. I've been contacted about 3 times by fellow citizens from Medina about one individual that's in my ward and in Ward 2. And what amazed me and what I'm proud of, another reason I'm proud to be a resident of Medina, they weren't calling because they thought it was unsightly to have somebody sleeping outside with all their belongings. They were concerned for their personal well-being, you know, the individual that is homeless. All 3 of them, you know, the same thing. They were just worried about their well-being and wondered if there had been any help offered to them, to this individual, and there had been. The other thing is Metropolitan Housing is going to be opening within the next several months a homeless shelter in the northern part of the city that's going to be available to the human services facilities that if they're needed by these individuals. But there's going to be 10 male beds and 10 female beds, which is another opportunity that can be offered to these individuals that Chief Kinney mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Simpson. Any further discussion?
Mr. President,
Mr. Kinn?
I do have one more point I'd like to highlight. This does not prohibit the Parks and Recreation Director or the Service Director from permitting camping in certain areas of the city. Typically, the Parks and Rec Director receives requests for permission to camp in some of our parks for special events, so that can continue. This ordinance does not prohibit that or limit that in any way.
Thank you for that clarification, Chief. Would the clerk please call the roll on ordinance 175-23?
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Hare.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Ordinance 175-23 passes 5-0.
And our final ordinance of the evening, ordinance 176-23, an ordinance amending ordinance number 221-22 passed December 12, 2022, amendments to the 2023 budget.
Move to approve.
Second?
Discussion, Mr. Durham?
Thank you, Mr. President. The first one is an increase. It's a pass-through. We received money, and we need appropriation for council to be able to spend that money. I'm going to skip to the last one. That's an increase for advertising for the Economic Development Department. The other 2 are just moving money with appropriations around between lines within the police department.
Thank you, Mr. Durham. Any further discussion? Seeing none, could the clerk please call the roll on ordinance 176-23?
Simpson.
Yes.
Hare.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Ordinance 176-23 passes 5-0.
Council comments? Ms. Hare?
Thank you, Mr. President. It's already been touched upon, but I want to remind members of our community of all of the upcoming Halloween events, not only in the city, but in our adjoining communities. There's going to be a lot of kids out there at their parents, and who knows what the weather's going to be like. It's going to be dark. Please pay attention as you're driving around in our communities. Keep our kids, our parents safe while they're out enjoying Halloween events. And then the second one is I want to remind people to get out and vote. There are a lot of issues out there that can apply to all of us. It's extremely important. Exercise your rights, and please be respectful of people's opinions and their rights to vote as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Hare. 2 good reminders.
Danny? Nothing?
Go ahead.
Paul?
Mr. Lamb?
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to talk about this just briefly tonight. I taught school. Actually, I taught in a public school, a Catholic school, and I finished my general teaching career in a Jewish school, where I initially went to the Jewish school simply because I thought I could go for a year or 2 and just learn how to speak Hebrew. I stayed for 16 years. I never did learn how to speak Hebrew. However, my 8th grade class went to Israel every year. And we traveled the length and the breadth of Israel each year, north to south, east to west. We stayed in big cities and also spent a great deal of time staying in a kibbutz, getting to know people. I got to know a lot of folks in different places in Israel over the years. It was interesting to me also, because I wasn't Jewish, that when my students had things to do that were particularly religious, I would go and travel on my own for the day. And so I frequently traveled into the Palestinian territory, where I would eat, and I made friends over the years as well. And so when I watched the news of the conflict in Israel and the absolute horror of that war, I thought about the innocence of the people on both sides, the suffering that people go through, and the places I had been where I knew people, whether they be Palestinian or they be Israeli, and the loss of that kind of innocence. And I started to think about how often in life we have so many struggles, and our response against those generally is a weakness. Many of the things I think we struggle against or struggle for really is a revealing weakness of ourselves, maybe a failure of mastery. And when you think of what goes on in a war, like we're watching now, or we can watch this now on TV, with the genius and the wisdom of our time, what we have, that we still resort to violence as a means to an end, and how that statement in itself is simply such a tragedy on a human scale, that loss of life. And the results of it are often, you can't discern what you win or what you lose, but you know a lot was lost. And so I thought it was just a good thing to talk about that consideration, and that in the face of all that death and suffering, sometime would hope that the weight of the universe would maybe fall on a better way to resolve the issues that we so disagree about that we think we have to harm and kill each other. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Webb. Mr. Simpson or Mr. Rhodes?
Go ahead, Paul.
Thank you. All right. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and I'm wearing pink in memory of both my grandmothers and in honor of my youngest sister. We need to find a cure. Just returned from a trip to the People's Republic of California. $6.99 for a gallon of regular gasoline is absolutely insane. Almost every yard is fenced in. I'd hate to see that happen here in Medina. For those of you who recently left California and moved to Medina, remember why you left and what you left, and remember why you came to Medina, please. Okay. Also, I often hear that the reason for hunting is the increase in the deer population, is that we've taken away the deer's habitat, and I disagree with that. When I was in school, I was one of the few boys in class on Monday after Thanksgiving. Most of the boys were hunting with their fathers as it was the opening day of deer season. For a lot of those families, the deer harvest was the only meat that the family would get for quite a while. Now we've gotten soft. Most families just go to the grocery store for their food and their meat. The decrease in hunters and the lack of natural predators in the city is what's causing the deer population to rise. The hunters who will be permitted to hunt in the city will be seasoned professionals with credentials to prove it. The properties will not be the postage-stamped lots that you see around City Hall here. They will be the ones on the outskirts to start as we get this program ramped up. And the hunters will be seasoned professionals with the credentials to prove it, and the harvest will be used to feed humans, not left to rot as when they are hit by a car. Okay? And just as an FYI, another comment, hunting is allowed in Montville Township. There are 2 schools in Montville Township. Nobody's been hurt yet. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Simpson?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to tap onto what Bill's comments were about the war in Israel and Palestine. It does bring home, I mean, I know we get so accustomed to, especially in the last few years with Ukraine and Russia, and I mean, I could go on and on, the different conflicts around the world. But when I watch these on the news, I can't really bear to watch it very long, but every night I do catch up to see what's happening at you know, the present time. It makes me realize how fortunate we are to live in this country. And now in saying that, our country, our citizens of our country have become more divided than in my lifetime, than I've ever seen. And I have paid attention my entire life. I grew up during the Vietnam era. I mean, there was a lot of divisiveness then. But now it's just getting out of control, and it's sad that we can't agree to disagree. You know, and whether it be in politics or financial issues, you know, it's been commented that neighbors pitted against neighbors, family members. I mean, there's family members all through our country that because of their political opinions, you know, they don't talk with other family members. And it just seems like, and I know I've always been on a soapbox about just be kind, but it's so true. If you hear something that one of your neighbors or your family members say that, you know, that you just vehemently disagree with, remember it's okay to disagree. You know, my wife and I like watching, you know, this program called Real Time with Bill Maher, and I like it because it's a comedy show. But he reminds us periodically, you know, he talks about, you know, you put whatever political picture you want up there, whether it be President Biden or ex-President Trump. You can disagree with people that support President Trump. You can disagree with people that support President Biden. You don't have to hate them. You don't have to hate them. So I could go on and on, but I'm not going to. Just, if you're getting ready to get in an argument with one of your neighbors or you know, having dinner with friends or family members, just, if you feel like saying something awful, don't. Just try being kind. When I say, you know, I always talk about being kind, it's about this country. I mean, you know, all of us out here, love our country. They love our city. You know, you're all involved, and boy, there's nothing better than to see people, even though your opinions may be different than the person sitting next to you, that's okay. That's what our democracy is about. We don't want to lose that. And it's easy not to lose it. Just be kind to one another. That's all. It's simple. I won't go on any longer, but thank you, and Reggie hit the nail on the head. In 2 weeks from tomorrow, we vote. If you know, you do still have the opportunity to vote early, do so if you can. I was going to say vote often, but you can't do that.
This is not Chicago.
Yeah. But please get out there and vote. It's your right. I feel it should be your duty, but it is your right. So please take advantage of that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Simpson. Thank you for everybody who attended tonight. I appreciate that we have people that are concerned enough to come and speak to council and share your concerns. I want to I know we have a couple candidates here tonight. I want to wish them good luck. Thank them for putting themselves out there because we appreciate those who want to get involved in community service. We wish you well on Election Day. And again, please do vote on all the issues and the candidates. That's what makes America great. Thank you. Have a good evening.